revisit. Under the tree's branches are chests that only unlock after finding enough ravens out in the realms. There is some powerful armor here to earn too, the Raven tier set, which would have been enough of a reward for me. It's a great armor set for folks who are struggling in the game. But I was pleasantly surprised that finding all the ravens also results in one more secret boss, the Raven Witch. This battle is a true marathon, as it ends up being 2 boss fights in one. And understanding that this is not a race is the only way to prevail. It's worth noting too that you can more or less approach the Berserker Stones and any other endgame content in whatever order you like. I personally think it's worth tackling the Muspelheim trials as early as possible, as they are easily one of the best sources of loot in the game, and also a worthy test of skill in their own right. Combat challenges are handled much better in Ragnarok than before. They are much more streamlined and much more customizable. The final 6 Crucible challenges are the right balance of tough and satisfying, including a marathon fight against 100 foes, a gauntlet of some of the toughest mini-bosses one after another, and a raucous fight against a phantom and several other tough enemies. In the post-game side, conveniently next to the Crucible in Muspelheim, is another endgame boss battle, this time against the newly crowned Valkyrie Queen Gná. This fight should only be attempted once you are confident in your builds and abilities. Gná is a beast, a great reminder of the Valkyrie battles of the past with a few new twists. She's not as tough as Sigrun, though maybe this is a nod to Gná's insecurity or an acknowledgement that she'll never be as powerful as she wants to be. Battling and defeating Gná also closes out Freya's arc and further hammers home additional themes at play. When Gná is finally defeated, Kratos goes to rip off her wings as he would the Valkyries in the past. But Freya stops him. She wants to try and save her former sister. She uses the language of Kratos and Atreus, pleading with Gná that she can be better. But Gná is having none of it. She calls Freya vile things and thinks she's an unforgivable traitor. Freya realizes that the only way to stop Gná from hunting them forever is to end her permanently. Freya has to accept that good people must do bad things, even if they do not want to perpetuate war. Sometimes gods must consider that there are things worse than war. Victory against Gná yields some new armor for Freya and a powerful Queen's Roar runic summon for her. Kratos also gets a shield that allows him to shoot these projectiles. It's pretty cool, but by the end of the game, you don't really need it. Also, defeating the Great Berserker King gives you a runic spell that has all these swords come out and attacks all over the place. It's pretty rad. The fight against Gná is likely one of the last things the player will experience. It is definitely designed as a culmination of all the skills learned and internalized over the course of completing God of War Ragnarok. As a final test, it is a worthy one, and I loved how it contributed to the overall story. Ultimately, all these fights and their resulting story reveals are the greatest rewards in God of War Ragnarok. The game may lack what some would dub a true completion bonus, but I found myself way more than satisfied. Having spent more than 120 hours playing, let alone completing God of War Ragnarok, it might sound silly to say that completion is kind of its own reward in this game. And yet, that's where I land. I found every plot twist to be earned, every emotional story beat impactful, and almost every thread neatly tied off. There was so much in God of War Ragnarok that does not result in a direct reward, but I still think it's worth doing absolutely everything. That said, there are some in-game bonuses that you can expect. If you rank up a piece of armor to rank 9, you can transmog it, changing its appearance but keeping the same stats. This is a great feature, as I am definitely someone who has a new favorite look. Though I do wish there were pre-saved loadout options, as creating and experimenting with different builds is so key to the completion process. It was super annoying to just remember and write things down. Like God of War 2018, earning the platinum in Ragnarok is not strenuous at all. The vast accessibility features and the lack of a difficulty-based achievement means that even the most combat challenged among us can push themselves to earn all 36 trophies. Acquiring every armor set, relic, and amulet is truthfully not all that difficult. if you're taking the time to fully explore every realm and complete every favor. I think we all kind of know that a New Game Plus feature will be incorporated down the line so I could officially fully max out every armor set. I did make an effort to max out the armors that drop from secret boss fights, as those generally tend to provide the most useful benefits to the player. And for those players out there who don't want to min-max or deal with the experimentation aspect of creating builds, there is some satisfaction to be found in that the starting armor, when fully upgraded, has some of the best stats number-wise in the game. It's like a tip of the hat to those who want to keep things simple. There is so much optional, missable stuff in God of War Ragnarok that I almost feel as though earning the platinum is its own bonus. There is no way to quantify that you've heard every optional conversation, but knowing that I did feels like I know secrets that other players might have missed. Ragnarok serves as a love letter to Kratos' legends from his entire history, and even those who have not completed all of his adventures will find things to appreciate. I don't know if I necessarily call it a completion bonus, but I do recommend every player travel to Jotunheim with Kratos and Freya after the climax, because you can pet the dog, and no, it doesn't do anything, but I do consider it essential. So God of War 2018 had a cool secret egg Infinity Gauntlet reference in the Shattered Gauntlet of Ages, and Ragnarok does have something sort of similar. Once you've repaired the Amulet of Driscoll to have all 9 slots, if you equip one gem from each realm in a slot, you can unlock a special buff for your charged weapons. This game doesn't necessarily hide this from the player, but it's a bonus that will only be noticed by those who have fully completed the game and experimented with every tool available. After 2 playthroughs at over 50 hours on my Give Me No Mercy mode playthrough and over 72 hours on my Give Me God of War playthrough, 36 trophies earned, 47 favors completed, 36 labors finished, 30 Reddit tasks checked off, and 9 realms fully completed to 100%, I still wanted more Ragnarok. But to me, the final moments between Kratos and Atreus serve as a heartfelt farewell to this Norse saga. After Odin's defeat, there's a denouement involving almost the entire cast of characters. Ragnarok may have occurred, but it did not result in the end of the world after all. All things considered, things worked out pretty well. Kratos and Atreus take a long walk, conversing with major characters and saying their goodbyes. At the end of the tunnel, Kratos and Atreus have a quiet moment and say goodbye to each other. Kratos confirms that Atreus is finally ready to be on his own, and he takes off with Angerboda to have his own adventures and learn more about his heritage. Angerboda shows Kratos and Atreus another prophecy board, and it shows how the events of the game have unfolded. But after he's left alone, something else catches his eye. On the back of the mural is another hidden prophecy, showing Kratos as we've never seen him. He's elevated on a pedestal, and instead of a scene of death and destruction, he is being worshipped and praised. For his entire godhood across every single game, Kratos has almost exclusively been an engine of vengeance and a tool of violence. And even in this game is constantly berated by Odin as being a god of nothing and not knowing what it means to be a true leader of people. This final prophecy depicts Kratos as he never thought he could be again, someone who is loved. Completing God of War Ragnarok has been one of the most satisfying experiences of my career. I am amazed at how over and over again this game defied my expectations. It is both bombastic and subtle, a work of great excess and remarkable restraint. This is a stunning example of a game that could have been pure fan service, but instead opts to rip your heart out. It's a game that tells you the truth and isn't afraid to challenge the player at every opportunity, even emotionally. Having played this game through 2 separate playthroughs side by side, Give Me God of War difficulty is an incredible challenge, and even if it doesn't directly provide the player with a bonus, I still recommend doing so for those of you who like a tough challenge. The personal satisfaction I felt at mastering this game made me feel not just like a god of war, but a god of inner peace. Completing this journey with Kratos has been an absolute pleasure. I have no idea if we'll see him again in the future, or if Atreus will take the reins going forward. Either way, Kratos deserves the rest, and this adventure deserves to be completed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Review code provided by EA and Respawn. There was no financial compensation for this video.
54 trophies earned, 75 skill points used to max out 9 different skill trees, and 5 lightsaber stances mastered. Hey everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of The Completionist, where we don't just beat the games, we complete them. It took me 45 hours overall, but I completed Star Wars Jedi Survivor on Jedi Grandmaster difficulty, the hardest possible setting. And though the action is solid and the game gives you something to finish its story, I give it my completionist rating of play it. Here's why.
Yes! All glory goes to the winner!
You see. Save my life someday.
Wake up! Last one standing wins!
As a sequel, Jedi Survivor picks up the baton left by Fallen Order. In terms of story and mechanics, if you liked Fallen Order, it is highly likely that you'll enjoy Jedi Survivor. But I learned that just because you liked the first game, completing its sequel is hardly a walk in the park. Jedi Survivor, like Fallen Order before it, is a third-person action RPG, with an emphasis on dodging and parrying during its melee-heavy lightsaber combat. There is a focus on exploration, there are boss battles and big action set pieces, punctuated by quieter moments where characters converse and uncover the mysteries of the galaxy and the Jedi Order. Cal Kestis returns as our ginger-haired protagonist, a little more grizzled and world-weary than before. No longer a Padawan, he is stepping into his role as a Jedi Knight. He's been fighting the Empire for, the last few years, honing his skills and doing his best to inspire hope and to help others. Throughout his journey, he visits locations familiar and alien, and meets friends new and old. His epic tale continues the character arc established in Fallen Order. I appreciated that Jedi Survivor emphasizes the survivor part of its title. Cal is constantly shouldering the guilt of being one of the few Jedi to make it through Order 66, and what that means for his future. Looking back, Fallen Order pulled off something extremely improbable. It balanced nostalgia and new ideas to tell a really engaging Star Wars story. Yeah, there were cameos that felt a little obvious. They actually tied into Cal's story and made sense in that timeline. That game successfully leveraged the iconic nature of Star Wars. The stormtroopers, the lightsabers, the music, without getting too mired in lore and references. Respawn and EA made not only an excellent Star Wars game, but it's just a solid game in general. Fallen Order's influences were solid. Then, Respawn reinterpreted them in an interesting way. I completed Fallen Order on the Xbox One back in 2019, but for Jedi Survivor, I went back to the dark side, the PlayStation side, and completed it on the PlayStation 5. Now look, I like Star Wars, but I wouldn't say that I am a diehard fan. I've seen all the movies, played a good handful of the best games, watched a couple Disney Plus shows. So in lots of ways, especially story-wise, Fallen Order was just right. It offered Easter eggs for longtime fans, but still provided plenty of people like me to latch onto something without feeling totally lost. It was, however, kind of a pain to complete, especially since I felt there were no meaningful rewards for those who secured every cosmetic, and to reach 100% completion on all 5 planets. To that end, Jedi Survivor feels even more massive than Fallen Order did. There are 6 locations instead of 5, additional lightsaber stances to master, and way more cosmetics to find for Cal, his lightsaber, and good old BD-1, the most adorable droid in the Star Wars canon. There are more Force abilities, more movement options, way more side quests, and overall, more ways to engage with the world. Cal can still see and hear Force echoes using his psychometry, and naturally, BD can still scan the hell out of everything. I appreciated that all of Cal's powers and abilities from the first game are available right from the very start. He never gets beat with the amnesia stick MacGuffin and has to start all over again finding his abilities. Cal only grows more powerful and adept with his skills as the game goes on. Kind of like the God of War Ragnarok approach. Damn, can you imagine Cal whipping out the blades of...
Looks like we got to that letter before Gito. He never received his orders to slip away and make a break for the dress camp. Makes my life easier. Now I complete my writ. I figured you'd want to witness a professional at work. After all your help, you've earned that right. The rules are quite explicit. I can only terminate the person or persons listed on my writ, and this writ only covers Tredecim. We know there's Gito, so he's my only target. A Telvanni master may be guilty of scheming, but that's... Looks like we got to that letter before. Now I complete my writ. I figured you'd want to witness a professional at work. After all, the rules are quite explicit. Only the name of the writ is my target, and that's just Tredecim. Gito is the spy, and he's my target. Anything more is up to you. Do you want to tell Master Sulis about Master Phobos' plan to set him up? Show Master Sulis the evidence, if you like. Gito won't go anywhere without my notice. I'll wait here. If you're going to tell Master Sulis anything, get to it, hero. I want to finish this writ and get the stink of this place out of my hair.
Was there something else outside? Nice try, Phobos, but not good enough. I appreciate the effort, but he loses again. Just, what all good Telvanni masters do. Carefully consider my options.
Now that Sulis knows what Phobos was up to, the backstabbing and plotting will intensify. I suppose that's life in House Telvanni, though. An excellent point. Never let it be said that Nario Virian reneges on a promise. After this, I need a long, hot bath. That's not an invitation, hero. Maybe next time? But I have this one other thing to deal with first.
Phobos, I understand you have a spy in your employ.
So, now you know, Sulis. Well, good for you. That and a few coins will get you a ride on the Silt Strider.
No use denying it. Assassin, complete your writ.
Then this is over, Tredecim.
No! Master Phobos made me! I didn't have a choice!
Well, looks like you certainly dug deeper than I expected. If you think this changes anything, you're sadly mistaken. I'm still a Telvanni.
I can't thank you enough. Having something to hold over Phobos' head presents unlimited opportunities. Now I just need to figure out how best to use them. While I wish we hadn't had any information passed to House Drez, we caught the spy and Fauves is in my debt. So things couldn't have gone much better for me. I'll remove...
With that, my work is done. We did good, hero. You know, I sometimes visit the tavern in Necrom. Stop by if you're in the area. It would be nice to see you in less professional conditions. Sharpening my blades. You never know how soon I'll need to draw them again. Then a trip to Necrom, I think. I should pay my respects at the necropolis while I'm in the area. I put a lot of ancestors in those catacombs. With that, my work for the Assembly. Master Sulis rises in power, and Master Fauves falls a few steps back. At least for the time being. It's like a game to the Tovani Masters. As for me, I think I'll head to Necrom and find a spot in a crowded tavern. I need a drink.
Shouldn't have let that dry. Now it'll never scrape off.
Fathomless prince of a dark brewing tide, who peers through the ink between pages and hide. Come visit our children, they don't wish to wait. Oh great Hermaeus, master of knowledge and fate. Little
That's it? Who's better than us? Nobody.
Aye? Are you then? Tag along in my skiff if you'd like.
I've lost my family. There were, of course. Because
No, thanks. I prefer to ask Teal.
This covenant is burning.
Good to get stocked up.
Please, my scales are... I'll dance on the...
You don't.
So, excellent.
We did.
You're dead.